Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network, and we are here today to preview this weekend's championship games. All right. Welcome in, everybody. This is fanspeak.com. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out fanspeak.com for the best. We got Ultimate GM going on right now. That's right. You can simulate the mock draft of your team. If you're like me, if you're like Tyler, if you're like Jamie, and your favorite team's been eliminated and you're looking ahead to next season, Ultimate GM is the way that you're going to use that mock draft. Take on the available free agents. Let me see how T.A. Higgins fits next to Brock Bowers. Fun stuff like that, fanspeak.com. Jamie, how are you today, and what did you think of the games this weekend?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, the games are fun. A little disappointing. A couple of the better teams ultimately lost, but that's why we love the game of football, man. Because any given Sunday, or I guess any given Saturday, the good teams could go down. So overall, though, it was a fun game, man. Fun slate of games.
Okay, so in which case did the better teams lose?
I mean, I think pretty obviously the Lions were the better team. Although I do have to give you credit. Although I think you did end up changing your mind, which hopefully
I should have bet it. I'm an idiot.
Hopefully we didn't convince you too hard on that one. But I mean, obviously the Lions are a better team than Washington. I think if you play out that game 10 times, Detroit's probably going to win 8 times maybe. But still got to give credit to Washington. I also think Baltimore is a better team than Buffalo, which I think is a little unfortunate just because I thought.
So that's the one I disagree with.
I mean, Vegas pretty much told you, right? They're like a 1.5 favorite in Buffalo. So like I don't think it's like obviously as lopsided as Detroit and Washington. They're two good teams. I don't think it's, insane, but I definitely think Baltimore was the better team. I mean, if you just look at their skill position, guys, how many times they turned the ball over compared to Buffalo, missed 2-point conversions, and I mean, they still had a chance to win at the end of the game. I think that's a pretty key indicator that Baltimore is better, but I don't think Buffalo's like a terrible team by any stretch, right? So I don't think it's like the end of the world, but I definitely would have preferred to see Baltimore go up against the Chiefs, and I would have Buffalo, but here we are, man. That's the game.
I mean, you can't say a team that lost to the Las Vegas Raiders is better than the Buffalo Bills. At the end of the day, I think the home.
We're going back to week 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's regular season, man.
At the end, we're going back to week 1 for some of these games.
Didn't Buffalo lose to New England this year?
The Green Bay Philadelphia game, week 1. It still mattered. Go ahead.
So didn't Buffalo lose to New England this year?
They might have. Yeah. But my point is, I think the home field advantage decided that game, and I think the Buffalo earned that win during the regular season by having the better regular season record. And I do think that if that game was played in Baltimore, that we have a different result.
I'm not arguing about this again.
We'll never know.
My one statement is it was the snow and Mark Andrews, not home field.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Mark Andrews definitely played pretty big.
In Baltimore?
No.
So then how am I not right? If the snow's the issue and Buffalo earned the home field advantage, then they get the snow. How does that not prove my point?
I think
mean, it does to a point, but it's not. It's the snow that was the factor. It's not the fact that they were on Buffalo's field.
I get what you mean. It wasn't home field advantage. It was the specific amount of snow that was
reasoning. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, Mark Andrews.
But you don't get that weather in Baltimore, so. It is the home field. Okay, we're going to disagree there.
I see where both of these sides are like kind of going at it, but like,
yeah, I see. You guys are both actually correct. I get what both of you are trying to say.
Off of the field and leave the game in Buffalo, Baltimore wins. Is what I'm saying.
What are the chances it's going to be no snow in Buffalo, New York in January? I mean, that's like saying if you take the sunshine out of California, it's like, well. What we're known for.
I'm saying we had 2 games this weekend that were decided by snow, and the team that won shouldn't have won.
No, I'm with you. No. I mean, it was definitely Mark Andrews' fault, man.
Buffalo was what's up?
I mean, it was definitely Mark Andrews here. I mean, come on, let's.
We're doing this again, huh?
come on, you get paid a lot of money. You can't drop the ball twice and then fumble in the key situations. Like,
You get
does
paid a
Lamar
lot of money. You can't give it to Derrick Henry on the first 2-point conversion after you got 3 runs for 62 yards going into that to get that touchdown. He's
I'm
not the only
100.
person who made a mistake. You get paid a lot of money to snap the football. The center made a terrible snap to Lamar Jackson. He fumbled. That was a key turnover, but he gets off the hook, right?
No. I'm with you. You can never look at it's at one play throughout the course of the game because no game is perfect. There's going to be multiple things you can look at through the course of the game, from coaching, quarterback play, whatever it is. But ultimately, you know what people remember is when the game is on the line.
No, you're
right? It happens in any sport, right? It happens in basketball. You can look at so many things throughout the course of the game, but if player A misses a shot at the end of the game to potentially win it, that guy gets blamed for it. And that is just the reality of professional sports. But it was a good game still overall, right? I think we all enjoyed it. I think the better quarterback did win. I think we could probably all agree with that. Like, I love Lamar Jackson, but I think when we did our quarterback rankings, we all had Josh. I think honestly, I had Lamar over him at the time, to be honest. Now that I think about it, but I definitely think Josh Allen's the better one.
Hey, what would you say if I move Jaden at number 5 now after this? Am I overreacting? I mean, I know this is the Overreaction Monday show, but I was thinking about that today while we were getting ready for the show, and I go, you know what? If I redo my rankings right now, I might put Jaden ahead of Stafford.
Have you guys looked into all this VR training he does?
Yeah, I have seen that.
That is the sole reason why this kid is just shredding
sole
defenses.
reason, but it's got to be a good reason.
Well, I mean, apparently Brian Kelly's big.
You have the defense you're playing up against coming at you at 1.5 speed, so you're doing everything a split second faster, and then you go out on the field, and it's like, oh, now I'm playing in slow motion, and I know exactly what's about to happen. He literally said whoever drafts him has to do the VR training. This started at LSU. This started during the week.
You think that it'll catch on and everyone else will do it? Because, I mean...
It should, but this started during a week when he was concussed, couldn't practice, and he did the VR training for one day and went up and put up 600 yards on a defense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold on the VR training. I mean, if he beats Philly this week, every quarterback in the league should be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I couldn't fault spread it off. You want to say top 5? I mean, we kind of had the same kind of thoughts last year with C.J. Stroud, right? And I still think C.J. Stroud's a legit quarterback, but Jay Daniels is good. And he's won 2 playoff games. You know what I mean? Like, he's a rookie. He's won 2 playoff games. He beat Detroit.
I'd take Jaden over C.J.
I would too. I mean, C.J. had the better weapons, better defense, better line, and Jaden looks like a better player.
Jaden looks really good, man.
Jaden's touch underneath is really where I think separates him from some of these other players. He's really good.
He is.
At all levels. He can push it down, but a lot of those guys with the big arms, and this took Lamar a couple years. When Lamar first came in the league, he had a cannon and he was terrible underneath. Now he's beautiful underneath. And
I'm just gonna beat the table one more time because I've said this multiple times. When you draft these quarterbacks that are 5-6 year seniors, they better hit the ground running like this. They're already 24 years old. There is no time to build a project around these guys. When you draft these older quarterbacks, this is what they should do.
Yeah. I mean, Daniels is great, man. He's also so calm out there too, man. He's like, he never gets flustered. I'm definitely a fan.
It'd also be interesting. I was listening to Chris Long on a podcast right before we jumped on, and he was talking about how it's so great to be an underdog in the NFL playoffs.
Oh yeah,
because
house money.
Like, there's no pressure. Nobody expects you to win.
Yeah,
it doesn't
100%.
matter. It'll be interesting to see next year.
Yep.
When he's dealing with what CJ's dealing with now. Okay, now you're expected to win, right? Last year was just, oh, this is so great, cool, like
100%. I mean, it's just like
there's going to be expectations. Next year he'll be a favorite going into the playoffs. Next year,
Yep.
There's a lot of close games they won too. Some of those go the other way. We might start having a different narrative. So
they got $93 million of cap space to go out and build around this kid. This team is going to be stacked next year.
They should be, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up. Any other thoughts on what we saw yesterday, Jamie, before we dive into this weekend's games?
I mean, well, yesterday I watched my Irish lose, so I
I'm
think
sorry.
I
I'm sorry.
I got
This
one
weekend.
question
I'm
for
sorry,
Jamie.
bro. I mean, like, dude, life is just so. I'll talk to you
I know,
off the
Jimmy.
air. I've been got a lot going on lately, which is why I've taken a step back from my NFL work. Hey, Tyler, flip the sheet for me real quick if you can. I'm going to throw the numbers in.
Okay. But I have one question for Jamie before we jump into the next segment.
Yeah.
How, of course, he'd be the first wide receiver off the board, but where do you rank Jeremiah Smith at? Like, would he go first in this draft? Would he go first in last year's draft?
Dude, he is an absolute freak, man. That last catch just drove me absolutely insane too, man. Like you cannot leave that guy one-on-one with anyone on the planet. It's just he is so good, man. He is so good. His footwork and stuff is insane. Yeah, he's gonna be. It's crazy. He's a freshman. You know what I mean? Like this guy should be going to the pros this year without a doubt, and he'd be one of the first wide receivers off the board. Yeah, he's good. He's gonna be a stud, man. Whatever team luck boxes into getting him, I think is gonna be very, very lucky. So we'll see. But yeah, he's a stud, man.
All right. Final other thoughts from the weekend. Any takeaways about the Rams? Any takeaways about some of these losing teams? Detroit Lions going to lose both coordinators. NFC North, we thought they were this juggernaut. Now they're all eliminated.
Do we think Stafford comes back next year?
I have no idea. How would I know?
I think he probably does.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. I think he probably does. I mean, it's back-to-back years where I feel like they kind of really had some injuries at the beginning of the year and then started off slow and then kind of picked it up late. And I think maybe he wants to come back and give it a go. I mean, they were close to winning that game, you know. If they had home field advantage, like we talked about with Baltimore, they very easily could have won that game, right?
I think with the way that Hurts is physically right now, I think for sure they would have won that game.
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, this is a 50% version of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Because the guy's never been a sit in the pocket and throw darts type of guy anyways. He needs the athleticism. He needs the strength. He needs the mobility. And with the lower body injuries that he's suffering, you like that hockey where they just say lower body on the injury report. You know, NBA, they're like torn tibia or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But this is just in the same version. And Tyler said it yesterday. And, you know, we had a lot of fun arguing yesterday, but we were complete agreement here. I think if that's indoors, I don't know if that Philadelphia defense would have been able to stop. I mean, a lot of those routes, the guys were wide open and just either couldn't hold on to the ball or it's a tough throw in the snow.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And that was, we talked last week. I said about LA. I just don't trust that LA team specifically to play outdoors, man. I think they're just much better in warm weather and inside the dome. So I agree. As far as Detroit goes, I'm honestly just disappointed in myself that I ended up backing this team last week. When I said all year about my opinion on this team and specifically that defense, I think I let one game against Sam Darnold make me think that the defense was back. And that's the same defense that just got lit up by Green Bay, by the 49ers, by Buffalo, by all these teams towards the end of the year. And they laid an absolute egg. And I know a lot of people are talking about Jared Goff, which I don't think he's, I don't think, he's the best quarterback ever. But, I mean, what they put up, like 30-some points. You're not going to win games in the playoffs when you're giving up 45 points. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that team. Now that the fact that both their coordinators are going to be gone, let's see who comes in and replaces them because I think they're going to miss Ben Johnson quite a bit. So, but yeah, that's basically
I'm curious
just my
about that, man. Like I said, I'm not sold on him as a head coach, but
did you
as
guys
an offensive coordinator, he's proved his worth. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in on both sides of the ball. And I think that Aaron Glenn, he sounds pretty good too. I mean, listening to the interviews, I kind of like Aaron Glenn more than Johnson personally.
They said Ben Johnson took the Chicago job out of spite. He was on a plane to Washington to coach Jaden Daniels last year, and he backed out, and he loses to him in the playoffs. And now he's going to go to Chicago to make Caleb better than Jaden out of spite.
Oh, that's funny.
I like that. That is funny. I hope it doesn't work out for him. As a Packer fan, I won't lie. This is the last thing I wanted was Ben Johnson come in. And who knows how he is as a head coach? We'll never know.
I mean, I texted Meg yesterday. I said, is he Kyle Shanahan or is he Mike McDaniels or Josh McDaniels or whatever?
If he's Mike McDaniels, if you're going to tell me Chicago's offense is going to look like Miami's with Caleb throwing the ball, punch them in for a wild card spot.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I think so. If it's Mike McDaniel, they're in some trouble here. Hopefully it's the Josh McDaniels.
Imagine a Miami offense and Tua has legs and has a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And I mean, I actually like Miami's weapons a little more. But they're pretty close.
I like their top two weapons more, but Chicago's deeper in their weapons arsenal. Like
that's
Hill and Waddle are probably the best two.
But that running back, A-Chain to me is a top 5 guy, and what DeAndre Swift or whoever. I mean,
yeah. But like their wide receiver core as a whole, I'm taking Chicago's over Miami's. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome. I'm taking those 3 over the other 2. I mean, every time Waddle gets hit, he's limping off the field.
Question. I think I'd rather have Hill and Waddle. What do you think, Jamie?
I mean, Hill's definitely getting a little older now. So when you're but I mean, so is Keenan Allen, I guess, to be fair. But I think Rome has like legit wide receiver 1 upside in him. So I would probably go, when we talk about the youth of him, I'd probably go that route. I think DJ Moore's legit too, man. I think DJ Moore's going to flourish in this team for sure. Whoever plays in the slot is just going to get peppered with targets this year. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. I hope the team sucks, but I feel like the North is going to kind of be a juggernaut again next year. So we'll see what happens there.
All right. Any other takeaways from the weekend before we dive in and try and find the winners this weekend?
Nope.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yep.
All right. Jamie, we'll start with you because Tyler and I talked yesterday. My odds are off Bookmaker. So they could be a little different for you guys on the legal books. But right now, Tyler, we talked about this yesterday. So the the Eagles did take money. Remember I said, how far is this going to go? Now it's out to +6. Will it get to 6.5? And as I said yesterday, that was the difference last week, right? So these are key numbers, and trying to time these market entries could be the difference between winning, tying, or losing this week. Eagles -6. I know I said Jamie first, but I'm going to go to you, Tyler, because this line movement kind of caught my eye, and we had talked about line movement yesterday. Where do you think this line ends up? How are you approaching this game?
I don't think it moves much more. I think it stays pretty much right where it's at now. And the more I look at it, I love the Jaden Daniels thing. I think it's a Philly spot. Like, everyone's just going to channel back to, well, Washington beat them a few weeks ago. It's like, okay, Kenny Pickett was on the field for half that game. I don't see that happening again. Saquon ran for 300 yards on this defense and 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He's probably going over 200 again. He's probably getting multiple touchdowns. I like the Washington team. If they win, I'll be happy. But my money's probably going to be on Philly. I mean, the matchup they had earlier in the year where Hurts didn't go down, they won by 8.
Yeah, but this isn't the same Jalen Hurts.
He sucked all year.
Not really. There was points in the year he was really good.
I'll pull up his game logs. He had one good game.
Pull up his game log. There's a stretch right in the middle there where he was putting up some big numbers. I could be wrong. I'm going off the top of my head. While you do that, Jamie, Commanders are now +6. As someone who's backing the Commanders, I'm just trying to figure out when to make this bet. I'd love to get 6.5. That was the difference last week.
I mean, you can get 6.5 right now on FanDuel. But I know you probably don't have FanDuel, but it is 6.5 on FanDuel. So I got last week on the show, right? I said I got the 5.5, and it was on FanDuel probably for like another 2 hours after the show last week, and then it switched. And obviously kind of lucked out because that 5.5 was the difference between pushing and then some people even losing when it got to 6.5 or 7 later in the week. And this week I got on literally Sunday evening. I took them Philly 4.5. So I feel good with the spot I'm at. I obviously have a Philly Super Bowl ticket, so I'm really banking on them here. When I saw 4.5, I just couldn't believe it. I know we have to react a little bit to and adjust Washington in the power ratings after what they did. But you're telling me that the Lions were what? They got to like a 9.5 point favorite over Washington, and then Eagles opened up at 4.5, like 5 point difference. I don't see it, especially when I've kind of been on board with the Eagles being the best team in the NFC now for a while. I think that their defense is objectively better than Detroit's, and it's going to be playing outside in Philly, which I think it's going to hurt a rookie quarterback a little bit more than playing inside of a dome in positive weather conditions. So I like Philly here again. I still like them at the 6.5. This is going to get up. I think this gets up to 7, kind of like it did last week too. Like an hour before kickoff, I think it got to Eagles by 7. And like you said, these numbers in the playoffs have been really, really sharp. And if you're not getting them in early, it can end up biting you. We saw the Kansas City last week too. I mean, in week 1, there were some totals that started off like 44.5, like the Chargers.
Like me and you like the dogs, and it's better to wait, right?
If
the Texans waiting. So, for example, I wrote it up at 8.5, but I ended up betting it at 9.5 because I thought that the Chiefs would take money. Same thing here. Seems like we're opposite here, but since I like the Commanders, I'm waiting.
Yeah, I mean that's smart.
Goes.
Yeah, if you like the dog, then it's best to wait. But if you like these favorites, you got to hop on early because they're just going to move, and it didn't end up mattering with the Baltimore game, right? But it got kind of close to, right? It definitely got close to.
At one point, I was thinking the plus 1.5 might be the difference because I took Bills money line.
Yeah,
and I'm like, am I going to regret it? Because at one point it looked like it was setting up for a 1-point Baltimore win. So
100% here. Yeah, 100%. I love Philly here, man. I just think it's probably going to be playing in bad weather again. I trust Vic Fangio much more than I trust most defensive coordinators in the league, especially going up against a rookie quarterback. I think the Jane Daniels story is really, really cool. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in this league. I just think it's difficult for a rookie quarterback to go into this type of environment, NFC Championship game, and pull up the upset against this defense. We talked about it all year about how this defense is ranked first in like EPA per dropback, first in success rate, tons of different metrics from this week 4 on. I just think that they're going to be too tough, and Washington has had a lot of turnover luck as well. They've succeeded on a lot of 4th downs. Generally, those are things that I think regress back to the mean after a while, and that's kind of what I'm banking on here. So I like Philly quite a bit. I still like them at the 6.5. I do think this probably gets to 7 before kickoff. But I'm excited. I think it should be a good game. I do think you made some good points though about Jalen Hurts not being 100%. I just not sure if it's going to matter in this game. I just think Saquon Barkley is probably going to rush for 150 here. I'm just not sure how Washington's going to be able to stop them. And I could just see Jane Daniels having a few turnovers in this game with the pressure that Vic Fangio is going to put on him. So I like Philly here.
One of the major reasons why it's so hard for me to not take Washington, and I know we're not supposed to do this as gamblers, and we're supposed to look at the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
But where did Washington have the advantage last week except for quarterback?
100%.
Detroit's better at every single position group.
They had the coaching staff advantage, especially head coach.
Do they though? Because
yes, everyone loves Dan
for
Campbell.
Example, would you be excited if Cliff Kingsbury was hired as your head coach? No.
Cliff Kingsbury isn't the head coach; it's Dan Quinn.
He's a good offensive coordinator.
Point. Everyone's excited about Ben Johnson, so you'd think they have the OC advantage. I guess you can give Dan Quinn the advantage.
Are we really sure they had the OC advantage as quick as he took the Chicago job? My guess is they went down and my guy checked out.
I don't know. What do you think?
Both those coordinators took those jobs less than 24 hours after that game ended.
Where did Glenn go?
Didn't Glenn already take a job, or he interviewed for a job right after that game ended?
Yeah, he did. He did interview. I don't remember where he interviewed, but was it the Jets?
I think he's going to go to New Orleans. Personally,
he interviewed with the Jets, but
I think he'll go to the Saints. That's go to the Raiders. Look at the people you're going against. I would go to the Saints. Put me against Raheem Morris and Todd Bowles. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, the difference, I think Detroit's defense is just not very good, and I think Jane Daniels is a much better quarterback than Jared Goff. I think that's where it is. But again, it is. We talked about the beginning.
I'm just saying this version of Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels might be a lot better than him too. I mean, on that safety.
Yeah. No, you
can see his mobility is so limited.
You're 100% right.
Normal healthy Jalen Hurts just rolls out, throws it away, and they move on. I mean,
you're right, but also the Eagles' defense is much better than Detroit's.
And
right?
that's where I have to. Yeah, I can't push back there. I mean,
I don't think
correct.
he's not going to probably win a shootout against Jane Daniels, just like Jane Daniels or Jared Goff couldn't win a shootout against Jane Daniels, right? But like, if the Eagles defense is putting pressure on Daniels here and forcing Daniels to turn the ball over, I don't think you're going to need 100% Jalen Hurts in this game, right? I just don't. If they're gonna be able to control the clock with Saquon, man. So I'm all over Philly here, man. I think it is, and I won't lie. As a fan of like, I think Eagles versus Lions would have been a much better NFC Championship game. As a guy who does have that Eagles Super Bowl ticket, I won't lie. Part of me was pretty happy to see the Eagles or the Lions go down just to make the path just a little bit easier. I just think that they're a better team, man. They're just a much better team than Washington. I mean, you kind of said it with Detroit and Washington. Like, they're just a much better team overall.
I mean, we kind of agreed that Detroit's a better team than Washington. And
but it's any given Sunday, any given Saturday, whatever the day was.
I think the big thing we forgot going into that Washington game was the fact that Detroit has been terrible against running quarterbacks ever since they've gotten good over the last few years. How many times did Fields walk in there when he was in Chicago and run for 100 yards and make it a close game? He won one of those games. They played Lamar in Baltimore in Detroit, and Lamar shredded that defense in that dome. Then they played another running quarterback in the playoffs. We kind of just overlooked it because they were a lower seed, and he shredded them. I think that's where we missed it. They can't play running quarterbacks.
Yep.
All right. Anything more on that game? I keep bouncing around, Jamie. I just got to know how much do you think Detroit falls off losing these coordinators next year?
I think it's pretty big. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think Dan Campbell is not very good at in-game situational stuff. He's not an X's and O's coach. I thought he fit perfectly with the coordinators that he had surrounding him. I mean, if you just look at Goff's numbers in 2021 when he first got there without Ben Johnson, and then the rest of the years afterwards, obviously some pieces helped, adding onto that team, but they're pretty drastic, man. I don't think that this team is very well equipped for the future here without these type of guys. Again, it also is going to depend on who they're able to get. If they're able to pull an ace out of their pocket and pick up another solid offensive coordinator, then they'll probably still be okay. I don't think they're going to drop off to where they're going to be like a 5 or 6 win team. But in my opinion, if you're a Lions fan, I'd be pretty disappointed because I feel like the window to win was last year and this year, and losing these guys. I think so. 100%.
I'm kind of with them because this feels like the typical spot where Detroit's going to go. We don't want to hire outside of the organization because of how good our offense is. So we're going to promote the quarterback's coach or the pass game coach or one of these weird coaches on the staff is going to get promoted to OC. And they're going to tell that guy just to implement the same things Ben Johnson was. And it's not going to work. How many times have we seen teams try and do that?
Yep. I mean, there's a reason why.
The O-line's not going anywhere. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back. The team's shown the ability to draft fairly well. You got to think they're going to add even more weapons through the draft this year, even picking late in the draft. I'm not saying write them in for the Super Bowl next year, but they still, to me, have to be the odds-on favorite to win the division next year.
They will be the favorite, but I don't think that they will.
I think those 3 teams will be jammed together pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be. Yeah, I don't think it'll
Actually, all 4 of them might be right around 2-1, 250. Maybe the lowest gets to plus 270. But I think
it'll go Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears.
That will pretty close. Yeah, that will definitely be the order, especially with losing Sam Darnold and getting McCarthy. The market's not going to know exactly how to correct him. Then they could end up being 1, to be honest, right? Like if McCarthy comes in and has a year like Jaden Daniels has this year, right, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. Like he has a great supporting cast. You wouldn't think the same thing. If you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawks, it fixes a lot of things. Yeah,
so it
made a guy who was career bust and couldn't play football in the NFL look good for a year.
Yeah, some people thought Sam Darnold was going to win MVP.
Give me the guy who looked Alabama's defense in the face, beat him in the playoffs, and then went and won a natty. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%. And McCarthy has rushing upside too, right? Yeah. Like I think, my hot take will probably be the Lions finish 3rd in the division next year. Still very possible to be a good team, right? Kind of similar to what the Packers were this year.
Third last year was what? 12-5.
11 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still pretty good.
100%. So I don't think they'll fall off to be like a 5 or 6 win team. I think there's a real scenario where next year Goff is the 4th worst quarterback in the division. That's possible, right? Like the Rams got rid of him for a reason. Sean McVay saw it. Like we can't win with this guy, so we're gonna go trade you for Matt Stafford and win immediately. McVay's a smart coach. He saw it with Goff, man. I think Goff is probably a product of what was surrounding him and a good offensive coordinator as well. And I think Goff played well, for the last several years. I don't want to say that Goff is like, Sam Darnold-esque, but I definitely don't think that he has like the upside as some of these other guys.
He's a very, very good game manager. I'll call him that.
Exactly. That's what he is. But I
guys call these guys game. The guy can push the ball down the field, and also, isn't managing the game the number one job as a quarterback? I just don't understand where this game manager thing comes from.
I think the ceiling is just capped.
I don't picture him as a quarterback where, say, next year when Ben Johnson isn't there to call these crazy plays to get them 7 points in one play, like Mahomes, for instance. They can go to Mahomes and say, hey.
Yeah, he's nowhere near Mahomes. I mean, I agree there.
But I'm just using him as an example. They can go to him and say, hey, we're not calling plays this drive. Go get us 7. And you're going to watch that dude go down the field and orchestrate it himself. I don't think Goff can do that. He needs the OC to reel him in.
We agree there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Mahomes and not even dialing up plays, the Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I hope you did some research, Jamie, because I didn't even bother with this game. I'm just taking the Chiefs. Like, I don't care about EPA. I don't care about yards per play. I don't care about DVOA. I don't care. I just don't. So you can just like last week, every single stat was in Baltimore's favor. But I'm just like, to me, the home field, and I think it's going to be that way this week too, is worth way more in these playoffs for these two teams than it is for the regular season. So I know we only do 1.75 or 2.25 points for home field advantage now. We've dropped it down from the old 3 when I was younger. But I think it goes back up to 4 or 5 here. I think this Chiefs defense, I don't know if it's underrated because we've talked about it all year, but it's a better unit than what Buffalo has. And I just think Kansas City is going to be able to score and keep things close and get it done. And we talked about it yesterday. That Lakers effect is real. If it's a 50-50 call, we know which way it's going to go, right? I mean, if I'm on the Chiefs and you're on the Bills, Jamie, and we both push off, we already know who's getting the pass interference, and it's not me. And you have to factor that into your handicap.
I don't know. I watched Keon Coleman put a dude in the dirt on Sunday, and
that was against Baltimore, though.
Pass interference.
That was against Baltimore, though. It's not against the Los Angeles Lakers / Kansas City Chiefs. That's not against the player that the network and the league are trying to promote as the new greatest of all time. When you have that promotion behind you, it's a little different. Anyways, I could be reading a little bit into the conspiracy theories there, but that's just how I feel. And so I'm on Kansas City, and it's not a great breakdown. So hopefully you can give us a better one.
Well, I don't appreciate the Lakers slander here on a Tuesday afternoon. I don't know what caused that one.
24/7, bro.
Yeah,
I'll do that during a baseball show.
No one is safe around spread. But honestly, it's kind of funny because I'm with you when it comes to looking at any of the schematic stuff. What teams play: zone, man coverage, 2 high safety, 1 high safety, blitz rate, EPA per drop. None of this stuff matters when we're talking about the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, right? I just don't think it does. I think whatever happens is going to happen. I don't think a specific amount of scheme is going to dictate how these quarterbacks play. They're the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. I think the line feels about right. I do have Buffalo about +1 here, so not a ton of value here. I don't see either way. I can't fault you for wanting Kansas City. My heart just does not want Kansas City anymore. I'm from Kansas originally, so like I'm absolutely over it, man. I want to see.
Oh man, you're like the Lakers fans in my hometown, dude. You turn on your home team,
dude. I'm so thankful at a young age. My dad decided to be a Packer fan, and And now runs in the family. Even though I know my life would have been much better here the last 6-7 years. Either way, I just can't stand it, man. It's I want some fresh blood in here. I'm rooting for Buffalo. I just don't. This is also a reason I wish Baltimore would have won. I think they matched up much better against Kansas City than Buffalo does. Buffalo's defense, man, is terrible across the middle of the field. They do this. Is I'll give you some stats, right? I guess they do rank bottom 5 in EPA per dropback across the middle of the field. They rank bottom 3 in yards per attempt across the middle of the field. And this is just something where I think the tight ends, Kelsey and Gray, they really, really thrive in. It's probably going to be Kansas City. I'm not going to bet this game more than likely. And I do know that, right, this is a sides and total show. And I know Tyler and Megan and Steve and all them will give you the props on Thursday. But I do just have one prop I got to give out now before the stuff moves. That's Noah Gray. You can get like his over 12.5 receptions now, over 1.5 or 20
yards, right?
12.5 receptions. Yes, 12.5. Now we're gonna ladder those receptions up to 12.
Get a plus 2,500 there.
12.5 receiving yards.
If I'm only getting 25 to 1 on 12 catches for Noah,
I was gonna say
that's way low.
Yeah, you got to be able to put $10 to be a millionaire off that number. But the 12.5 receiving yards, the 1.5 receptions, plus 500 on the TD, and it was plus 9,000 for 2 TDs. The last time these guys played each other, he had like 4 receptions for 23 yards and 2 TDs. This is just a perfect spot for him, man. He leads the team in yards per route run across the middle, second in targets, first in TDs. I think this is a really good spot for Noah Gray. I think it's a good spot for Kelsey as well, but obviously you're getting all of his stuff much, much higher. So I probably lean Kansas City here to win the game. Like I said, I'm not going to bet it because I think the line is pretty fair. But I will definitely be rooting for Buffalo. I want to see Josh Allen in the Super Bowl, man, to be honest with you. You know how it is. No one wants to see the Yankees in the Super Bowl every year.
I know no one wants to see the Lakers win every year. I completely agree with you right there, Jamie.
Speak for yourself.
I'm glad we completely agree, man. There's just some players you just get so tired of. You know,
yeah.
I can think of one right off the top of my head that if he just retired today, the world would be a better place.
He stays right here, right on the top of your head. I know he does.
Yeah, you're telling me I can't get away from it. They act like there's no one else in the league. All right, Tyler, break it down for me here, and good to see Clyde in the chat. I don't know what he's talking about, but it's great to see you, Clyde.
No, I'm on KC. I don't want see him win either, but I'm going to bet the better quarterback, the better coaching staff. They have the better weapons. They have the better defense. Like, what box don't they check in this matchup? Like, yeah, the Bills beat them in the regular season, but you look at this game log and it's like McCole Hardman had 3 targets, Worthy had 5, Hopkins had 4, Noah Gray had 5, and Kelsey had 4 targets, 2 catches for 80 yards. Mahomes threw 2 picks in that game also. He's had a problem with interceptions this year. But when you look at right after that Buffalo game, he threw 2. Well, he hasn't thrown 1 since. So he's kind of tightened back up. And they have all their weapons. Marquise Brown is now there. I just think it's the spot where Kansas City goes, oh, you beat us in the regular season. We were kind of banged up. Now we're fully healthy. We're going to go out and beat you. I think they win the game by at least 3, so I'll be on KC.
And we know during those regular season games, Andy Reid doesn't use his best staff. I think he's going to have 2 or 3 that we've never even seen before.
No.
That'll be pretty effective.
And I think this prop is way too low. Pacheco's at 32.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he had a kind of a bad game last week. I think he's going to really bounce back this week.
I think Houston's defense is better than Buffalo's, though.
Oh, I think so, too.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
I think Pacheco can bounce back big right here.
Josh Allen factor, right? Just
3rd
and 5 is just, what do you do? What do? You drop back in coverage, the guy just tucks it.
Yeah.
You try and bring the house. He's accurate enough to find his guys underneath. It's just, to me, he's the toughest guy on 3rd and 5 or more in anyone in the league. He falls forward like Latavius Murray. It's just everything about that guy is just you can't scheme for him. So That's the one X factor that they do have.
Yeah.
Jamie, did you have a look in either of these totals? I threw the numbers in here while we were talking. I have the first game at 49 on a 47.5, but if I had to play it, I would play the over there, but that's not like a huge edge. And the second one, I literally have it right on the number, Jamie. I literally have it at 47.5. Any totals?
No, I have none so far. I've Washington and Philly at like 46.5, and then Buffalo and KC right at 47 also. So just not enough there for me to get in on either one. So I'll probably be passing. This feels like it's going to be a week where I won't have as much action outside of Philly, and then I'll get some props, and I'll tune into the prop show on Thursday and tell here what some of what Tyler and Meg and Steve are going on the prop show. But I just feel like a lot of the stuff's pretty accurate right now.
It's really accurate. As someone who does this and people know that I do it, they always ask me like, this must be, one of your biggest weekends of the year. I go, nah, it's actually pretty light.
Yeah.
Because you don't get these huge edges, right? Like when we get those mispriced lines, like Jags versus Colts, a game that nobody's paying attention to. And we can run our numbers and it's off by 3 and we're not even going to watch the game, but we have an edge and we can bet it. These numbers, we saw last weekend. These numbers are tight. I think that's why the teaser protection is so important for the books this time of year, because their original lines are so good. You get 6 points. It's tough to overcome. And also I like sides and totals so much more than props. I'm an old guy. I believe, these are team sports and team sports teach us a lot, but I would suggest turning to the prop party this week, because if you are going to find edges, if you're really grinding this out, if you're still making money on the NFL and you haven't switched to tennis or NBA like some of us other guys have, and just enjoying it, and I'm going to bet the Chiefs, but it's just a normal 1-unit bet. It's not I think the props are where the real mistakes and the real edges are to be found. So I'll be looking forward to watching Tyler and Meg. Hopefully I catch it live, but it's definitely on the viewing agenda for this week. Prop party is on Thursday with Tyler, Meg, and Steve, fanspeak.com. All right, Tyler, final thoughts on this weekend before, hey, we'll be back. So what do we do next week? You want to just do, we'll do a reaction show and then we'll save the preview for the week after?
That's fine with me.
So we'll do a reaction with JC next Monday, and then we'll bring you back, JC, the following Tuesday. Jamie. We'll bring you back the following Tuesday. Okay, great.
Yep, that's cool.
Sounds like a plan, but final thoughts for the week. Should be 2 good games. I think we might only get 1. I think Philly might beat Washington up a little bit. I was wrong last week, though. But funny way to end last week. I did hit a nice bet. Biggest blowout being Detroit-Washington. Didn't think I was.
You were just on the wrong side?
Yeah, I didn't think I was good with the Washington way.
That's funny.
I totally forgot that you took that, and that is hilarious.
I was like, where did this money come from? And I went back to my bet slips. I said, didn't think I was winning that one this way.
Yeah. Oh, that is awesome. That is great.
All right, Jamie, final thoughts here on NFL championship round.
Hey, enjoy the games, whether you got some money on it or just watching for fun, or if it's your favorite team. It's about over, and then NFL is the longest off season of any sport, it feels like. So enjoy it. We got just 2 more games, and then we got just the big game here in a couple weeks. So have fun with it, and let's root for some Bills, though. Okay, let's root for a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl. That's gonna be the way to have a good Super Bowl, I think.